All right, so how is the KK made? What goes into it? What are the steps? I will tell you, it's a complicated process. It has changed a lot over the last 4 years. We've been running this show for 4 years. YouTube itself is a totally different animal these days than it was back then. It is radically different. And our show is radically different. Go back and watch the very first episode, and then go watch the most recent episode, and watch them in between, and you will see a constant evolution and change. And I'm not just talking about like the intro and then the name. There's a lot of differences, but I want to talk about how it's made today. What goes into this? You guys saw my last video where I mentioned to some people, please delete the video. Please delete this scene, and why I would do that, why I would care, why I would want the traffic coming to our videos. There's reasons for that, because this is a complicated process that is hard work, and it takes a lot of time. And the one thing I will say, you guys, especially recently, you've been sending me a lot of scenes, and that's great. If you have good stuff, keep it coming. I won't always agree on what's good stuff and what's not. Recently, there was a guy left me a trailer for this movie called Rupture, and this woman gets abducted and her entire head gets wrapped in black tape, and then she's strapped to a gurney at some point. I mean, that's kind of weird fetish stuff, and that's not really your typical... I've ran unique scenes before, but that's kind of trash for the most part, as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't expect to see something like that here again. We don't have enough time. I don't have enough time or desire to run that kind of stuff. There's a lot of scenes people have sent me involving people being tied to beds and stuff like that. Again, I've mentioned that to you guys before. Unless it's in a absolutely non-sexual context, like the scene I filmed in Double Trouble, the odds of seeing someone involved with a bed here are going to be pretty low. Number one, I have no interest in those scenes myself. 90% of them I think are pretty much garbage. And, with YouTube's policies, that's just not going to be something that comes up here. But that's what I want to talk about. What do I have to work around? What do I have to work through? What are the steps involved? So I guess I could start from the beginning. It seems like really the first step is you come up with your cycle theme. What are these 5 episodes going to have in common? What's gonna connect them? And that could be an actress, a TV show. Right now, we're doing the international scenes. I could have picked a country. A setting location, a scenario. We've done the arms stretched over the head, unique scenes, video games, TV movies. There's a returning damsels, returning kidnapping. There's a million different things you could do. Horror movies is one we do typically every year. So you identify those, and then, before I even dive into the next part, just so you guys know, I do have to re-upload episode number 252 as well as episode number 275. That's one we just did. And just so you guys know, so as I film this, the next episode that's coming is episode 277. If you see anything that comes out that is prior than the current episode we're on, that means it's a re-upload. It means it's going to have an old intro, old everything, It's just being re-uploaded, redone for reasons because we lost ownership of it. So sadly, I'm going to talk about why episode 252 and 275 have to be re-uploaded again in a little bit. But moving on, part 2. So part 1, you get your cycle theme. Part 2, you pick your scenes for that cycle, and you end up arranging them 1 through 5, and that's really just objective opinion on my end. But even before you can pick your scenes, you have to find your scenes. And sometimes this can be tough. I have had real good scenes that I've learned about that I have had a hell of a time finding, and I've gotten very lucky finding. As in episode 260, Grace, the crazy ducked up Asians. I was so lucky to find that full movie on YouTube. specifically because of another step I'm going to talk about later. It was amazing the whole thing was even on there, that I was even able to find it. That's very true. Same with Cry No Fear, another Asian movie. Asian stuff is particularly hard to find. There's stuff that's really easy to find, like Turkish TV shows. Almost every single Turkish TV show has an official YouTube channel, and the footage is in the highest quality footage. The new stuff's HD. You can find all those things so easy. They're just a YouTube click away. But some of these movies, like I said, Asian movies, older TV series, you'd even be surprised. I suppose I could buy all the DVDs, I think, but even a show like Walker, Texas Ranger, no streaming service has it. Hulu, Netflix, nothing. You can't find this damn thing anywhere. I think Amazon Prime has like 5 episodes of like 2 different seasons, and that's it. And one of the thumbnails is Sherry J. Wilson Cleve gagged, actually, in one of those thumbnails. You have to find your scenes, and you want to find them in high quality. And that's sometimes tougher as well. Then you have to, and this has changed. See, when I started this show, I didn't used to record my own stuff unless I was recording it right off of my TV with the camcorder. If you remember those days, some of the re-uploads you'll see this in. Looks bad. I didn't know how the system worked totally back then. That's why I did that. But there are people, the old Google Drive that used to exist, people that do their own recordings, and for the most part, a lot of those recordings suck because there's no context. Sometimes the footage isn't that great. So I like to, starting about 1.5 years ago, because that drive was terminated, it kind of forced me into having to record my own scenes and learn how to do this. And since that happened, it's actually been the best thing for this program because I do the recording so much better. Now, the amount of time that is sucked out of me has been a lot, unfortunately. But it makes for better KK episodes. And when I go around hunting the scenes, if I can get the full context, make sure nothing's missing, it makes for the best possible KK episode. So how do I record that? Someone asked me that recently. OBS Studio is a free software. You want to make sure you set your output settings high, 1080p, 60 frames. That's 2 things that are very important when you record the scene. There's 2 things that matter in recording a DID scene, recording any scene for anything, and that is your resolution and your frame rate. Resolution is your, 720 or 1080. Obviously 1080 is optimal HD, the resolution of the footage and your output settings. But frame rate is equally as important. You want the highest possible frame rate. And I've mentioned this to you guys recently that my old laptop, when I did some of these recordings, I wasn't aware that I had to turn off the hardware accelerator on Google Chrome. And I wasn't aware of what that was going to do. What that does is drop the frames, which that's how fluid the scene moves. Not the picture quality, but how the scene flows. If there's bumps in it, if a person is lagging, if there's like fast, quick movement, like in that the scene from The Lesson, episode 267, like where the teacher dives across the table, that fast movement, it makes the footage slow down. Someone's running or something like that. So you want to make sure your hardware accelerator is not disabled, and you have your frame rate turned up so that the footage doesn't slow down or get choppy. So that's important, and I make sure these days that when I record stuff, the frame rate, in most cases, it doesn't make that big of a difference. But there are times where you can see it, and I'm picky, so yeah. And if I'd have known better at the time, I wouldn't have done that, obviously. But my laptop was dying for a long time, and I didn't really know it. Sometimes, if you, there's that old saying from Dante's Peak, where Pierce Brosnan says, my science teacher told me that if you throw a frog in boiling water, he'll jump out. But if you leave him in cold water and progressively turn the water into boiling, he'll stay in there and boil to death. So you don't realize something's happening to you if you're in it. But the laptop was dying, so anyway. That's step 3. Now, after you've got your footage, you've got your scenes, then you have to edit the footage, okay? And you have to edit it around YouTube's policies. That means your advertiser-friendly guidelines, which are basically the community guidelines on steroids. So it's even tighter. You can't have anything that shows any kind of, sexual intention like that. Excessive blood and guts. You have to edit around these things. Not that that's a big loss here, because that's not what the DID scene is about. So going around those things, well, if you look at episode 276, which you just saw, thanks again to Blow the Lights for adding in that nice piece of black covering up a revealing outfit. That's the kind of thing I have to do. Unfortunately, that's not in most scenes, so I don't have to worry about that. But you have to get around, you have to work within the policies. So advertiser friendly these days, it's gotten a lot tighter, but we don't really typically run into that kind of stuff. We had a lot of retroactive problems with age restrictions in the past. These days it's just not that big of an issue. So you got to get through those. The other policy that is the biggest problem is the copyright. The Content ID system, that has really tightened up over the last 4 years. It is not universal. Every copyright holder, if their footage is in the system, has their own sets of policies, how much footage you can use, and that is that can be very problematic for making the scene and how long it takes me to make the episode. That's where it really kills you. And I'll talk about that just a little bit more in depth here in a second. But I guess maybe even before worrying about necessarily the policies, the advertiser-friendly and copyright policies, I enhanced the DID action. That's something I've really done a lot more of here lately, and what's going to be coming here in future episodes, as opposed, I guess, to a lot of the older episodes, where I will totally re-edit the scene. I'll make my own creation out of the producer's DID scene. I'll make my own whole edit, move the pieces around and enhance them and replay them, because it's the best I can do to really add to it. And you'll see that a lot in Recap 23, for instance. Recap 23 has some excellent work by myself, if I do say so, as far as enhancing the DID action. Sometimes I'll even add in sound effects, like I added in gunshots that were going on in a different part of the scene into Recap 23. I've done that. I've added sound effects, gunshot. I mean, sometimes I really tweak, and then adding music really helps at the end when I do the highlights. So kind of adding your own stuff and enhancing it really helps. And enhancing it by moving stuff around can help with the policies as well. This helps with navigating the Content ID system and making your own creation so that you're not running the creator's original work. That is something that can really help out with that. So yeah, that's another reason that that's done. Now, once you've done all this, once you have a project that is, you could say, nearing completion, you're now going to have to do test runs on it, okay? So I guess this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess this would be part 6 here, running the test runs. And this is where the time really kills you. Because you'll run a test run and there'll be a copyright claim. All right? Because, I mean, you know how the system works. You try not to use too much footage, but like I said, the policies are not one size fits all. So you can't know for sure what's going to happen. You run a test run. Sometimes the test runs will be easy. Sometimes they'll be tough because there's automated claims. So let's say you run the video and the video processes and it says claim. Okay, I got a claim. I'll fix it. That's great. When there's this option a claimant can use called routing for manual review. In this case, it will tell you there is no claim when the processing finishes. And now you have to wait. You have to wait for that claimant to check their notifications for their claims so they can activate the claim. This could take anywhere from an hour to a month or more. Grace was like that. The claimant on Grace did not check their claims but once a month. Fortunately, the policy settings were not very tight. This can take forever, and this is a problem. This will slow things down. This is slowing things down right now with an upload of re-upload of episode 275, and this is why I have to re-upload it, because the claim did not come in until 3 weeks after this video went live. I thought I had ran enough test runs in the past to not have this problem. However, there's another problem, and that is the butterfly effect of the changes that come when you change the length of your video. Now, let's say I have all this DID footage, okay? I put it into an 8-minute video and I run a test run, and there's no claim, okay? There's no manual review, nothing. You think you're good. But then you take that same DID footage and you move it into a final video that is 20 minutes long. Now suddenly there's claims. You didn't change anything other than the length of the video, but because the length of the video changed, the way it was scanned, the reading of the scan changed, and now there's several claims in it that there weren't before. This is what happened with episode 275. I originally ran a test run with it with probably 12 or 13 minutes, and then the final video was 21 minutes long. Thought I was through it, thought there was no problem. I did do a test run, but with the manual review, they didn't check it for 3 weeks. Got me. Now I got to remake the video and re-upload it. And I'm not going to do that until I've had ample time for test runs, so it'll probably be a couple weeks. Anyway, that's another problem. Okay, these latent manual reviews that hit you weeks after your videos. And I hate these. These didn't used to exist. This doesn't help anybody because that's 3 weeks that the claimant didn't make any money from the video. So they didn't get anything from it. I didn't get anything from it. It's really just a mess. I guess it's just to confirm the content is really theirs. But the computer never makes a mistake with that. Maybe 10 years ago it did. It doesn't anymore. So I don't know what the point of that is. Those really need to go. But unfortunately, the manual review stuff, that's not even the biggest problem with getting through this process. That takes a lot of time, but what takes even more time is the fact that, let's say the claims are all automated, all right? You don't have to worry about manual review. They're all coming in as soon as the video processes. Guess what? They don't all come in. They only come in one at a time if it's from the same claimant. So that means that I can't know if there's 30 claims in one of my KK episodes, okay? I won't know that. I'll only know one. And then I fix that one, then I reprocess the video again, re-upload the video again, and have to find out about the next one. So I have to remake the video 30 times to find out about the 30 claims, rather than just doing it one time and them saying, okay, here's your 30 claims. I'd be able to fix them all. I'd be able to say, okay, I'm going to take an hour or two even. I'm going to take an hour or two and fix all these claims right now and then do another test run, rather than spending hours and hours and hours of time not only fixing the claims, but reprocessing the video, putting wear and tear on my processor on the computer, and then waiting for the video to re-upload. This is hours of time, hours and hours. that is a waste. If they would just tell me all the claims at once, I could fix this sometimes very quickly. And then imagine these multiple claims and not being told about them mixed with the manual review. So wait a week to find out about a claim. Wait another week to find out about another claim. You can understand how frustrating and why this takes forever. And again, the best thing I can do is try and prevent the claims from the start by limiting my footage use and moving stuff around and doing the enhancement and making my own creation. But you can only do so much because you just don't know what the policies are going to be. So it is a headache. It's a mess. If they would just tell you everything up front, say, okay, automated 30 claims, automated 5 claims, no reviews, no one at a time, it would fix everything. That's like my greatest wish as a YouTube creator. If that would happen, that would just solve so many problems. I would literally save hours and hours of my life. Like, you want to know why episodes can't come out faster? Why I can't do more work? Why the digital creation remastering isn't done yet? Why I just don't have enough time to do anything? This is why. This is the reason why. I mean, look at these re-uploads. You think I like doing those? But I have to. And look at the time that's sucking out of me, waiting on these manual review crap. I mean, it's frustrating. It really is. I mean, if this didn't exist, there wouldn't be any re-uploads. I'd never have to do a re-upload. And I could make KK episodes very fast. I mean, pretty quick. I can handle them pretty quick. Yeah, if you want to know why this is so frustrating, why things take so long, that's why. Why I can't do more stuff. I would love to have all this extra time to do stuff, but instead it gets sucked into this. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. Yeah, and then I got to film the commentary, which, you know, me staying in front of the TV now, then transitioning to right here in front of the computer watching the scene. You know, then once you get all that, you know, that's some pretty easy stuff. Then you got to mix it all together, do the final edit, do the final test run. And in your previous test runs, like I said, you want to make sure the video is the same length as what the final video will be. But you don't always know that because you haven't filmed the commentary yet. And then if it's different, it could change the claims. It's a mess. And it takes a long time to mesh all this together, to get your final episode. It's tough. It takes time. It's worth it. I love doing it. Like I said, I wish it was more simplified. And if it were, you guys would get more content. The amount of time, my time that would be saved, the amount of extra content you guys would get would be just, it'd be, you know, so easy to do. But now you understand. Now you understand what goes into making a KK episode. The level of frustration, time, why I would prefer if people didn't upload scenes onto here and suck traffic away from me and suck money away from me. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I like doing it, and hopefully maybe someday all those claims will come in together automatically. I doubt it, but you know, it is a process. It is work, but hopefully you stuck around and watched this whole thing and have a new understanding of what happens here. And I'll see you guys soon.